Architectural Builders Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
Rich, Architectural Builders, I'm calling you back.
Hey.
Rock handle.
Yeah, how's it going? Thanks so much for calling back. Yeah, so we were talking about email, and I started to get some of the same questions back about the wrist size. Call.
Okay.
My email address is rjalexander1. I sent some photos of a door with really slim rails, and we're trying to find a way to lock it.
Okay. So.
If you pull it up, you'll see it. And you're going to send you a refresher email, so it pulls to the top.
Hold on. So. There was a lock solution that we were emailing each other the first half of September. Is that what we're talking about? Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah, I after the 15th I didn't hear from you. Shall we start from scratch on this? Let's take a look. So
yeah, sure. So you asked me again the rail size, and that was in the original email address with the sketches.
Yeah. So I asked for the rail size. I didn't ask for the rail size. I asked for the style size. How wide is the style? The rail, I'm not considering the rail at this point.
That's what I meant, the vertical pieces on left and right.
Style, okay. So how wide is the style? Let's take a look.
I've got 1 3/4.
1 inch. Oh, you've got 1 3/4. Okay.
Yeah, the tough part is in the middle of it, there's a support bar that's metal. So that's why I said I've got 1 inch of actual meat. But if I need to cut into the metal, a little I can. But it's still small.
Okay, so what you want to try to do is lock this door. I don't recall the conversation, so let me...
Yeah, no, I can tell you.
Let me reread it.
Okay.
Static lock. It would be sense rails. Steel support that takes the majority of the slim rails. So we're talking styles. Okay. So what do you want to do with this door? I mean, you want to just lock it somehow?
Yeah, and something that actually looks decent. So my idea visually is to have like a tall 18-inch gold pull.
Okay.
And then the lock be something independent from that.
Okay.
If it's not independent, you've got a better solution that's integrated. At this point, I'm okay. I use one of your door catches so that it at least closes. Your roller catches.
Okay. So why not just install a very narrow style lock body into the edge of the door? Something that's got like a 1 inch back set.
I don't know if you got anything. That'd be great.
Well, aluminum storefront lock bodies have back sets that are in that range, basically 1 inch.
Okay.
Plus or minus a small amount. That would be an option. Are you trying to do access control on this?
I would love to, at least so it's can be integrated into a smart system.
Oh, okay. So, all right, you don't want mechanical hardware. You want electric hardware. So what about an electric deadbolt? And you could install an electric deadbolt. Are you sure that's just 1 3/4? Because your images make it seem like you've got that there's more style there. It's just if I scale that photo, I mean, it looks like you've got more room there. And it would be really important to know what that dimension is because it will absolutely define, if that door is, do you recall?
Oh my word! Sorry, could you give me one? The width of the door is actually 2.5 inches. I'm sorry, 3 inches.
Is that the thickness?
Go ahead. Could you ask me again?
What's the width of the door, not the thickness? How wide is it? Is it a 30-inch door?
Yeah, it's a 30 inch.
Okay. Yeah, so those styles are not 1 inch or 2 inch, because if you scale that by your eye, they've got to be bigger than that. So you've got a 3-inch door. So
away from the metal. Remember, there's a metal bar inside.
Yeah, well.
So when I was giving you an inch.
Yeah, that's going to be. Yeah, that's really gonna. So, what about where are you going to get power from? How are you going to get it to the opening and to the lock? What was the plan with that?
I could pull it. I've actually got on this door a smart film across the glass. It's in a shower or in a bathroom, so I could pull power from the same source. We have a junction box on the wall that we use, so I can find excess.
Yeah, right. But so you've got a junction box there. How are you going to get the power? From the back side of the frame through a hinge through the door to an electric lock.
Yes. My other question was if you have I can get power to it, but I'd love to know if there's a hinge that can safely put, a cable across it.
Yeah, there are electric transfer hinges. The problem is with all the steel and everything happening inside that door, how will you actually route low voltage wires through the door to get to the lock side?
I'll route them to the wood. So we routed the cable into the wood and then filled over.
Okay. What about an electric lock in the jamb? Then you wouldn't have to touch the door.
Everything you're saying sounds great.
Yeah. So I think you might use an electric deadbolt and mortise that into the jamb.
Okay.
It'd really be nice to see a cross section of the door construction along with the jamb, because it, ideally, it's hard to tell from this image. Yeah, that might. So you could have an electric deadbolt. Now, this is into a shower. Does this, from the outside, and you go into the shower enclosure, does this lead to the inside of the house?
Yes. So you're looking in the house, looking out, and there's a hot tub. So the shower kind of serves as both a bathroom shower and like a pre-rinse area. So on the outside, I can do anything you need. I mean, there's brick, but we're kind of desperate for it. So I can do anything I need to get something into the jamb.
Yeah, you could do an electric deadbolt because getting power that way will be easier. The issue, though, is how do you lock that door electrically in the sense of when there's power going to it, is it always locked or is it always unlocked? So if you were to have the lock always locked when there was no power and you introduce your credential, whatever it is, card reader, keypad, it closes the circuit and then unlocks the deadbolt for whatever amount of time until the door closes and it relocks. The problem with that is when there's no power, the door's locked. So if there's a power outage, you're not coming in or going out of that opening. To flip that on its end, if you have it such that you're continuously powering the lock to lock the door, which is no problem for the hardware, when you cut or open the circuit to unlock it, what do you do when there's a power outage? That door is unlocked. So that could be an issue. So you have to decide how that works, because the same problem that you have about that fundamental choice you have to make is the same for a magnetic lock that you could put on the header and mount an armature to the face of the door, which would probably be the easiest to do. It would be the least elegant looking because you'll have this narrow electromagnet up on the header. But it's the same problem. You either have to with those, they're always fail safe, so you would have to power it continuously. in the event of a power outage, you can't, you won't have security over that opening. So you either have a problem getting out if you need to, or you have a door that's not locked. So
do you have any that have battery backup options? Like I can't imagine
sure.
power being off.
Yeah. No, in the power supply, you can toss batteries, but the fundamental question still remains, if you need to get out, will you be able to get out when you need to? Getting in, there's other doors to this house, right? So it's just getting out that you want to be sure of. So having battery backup, sure, you can toss a couple of batteries, you can get hours of backup going, no problem with that. But you have to have a way to control the circuit. You have to have a way to be able to get in and out. And I would think if you never have to go out of that opening when there's a power outage, meaning you can't unlock it, then fine. If you added the power supply and then put a battery backup in there, you're good. You've got no power. You need to do something to that door. And if someone's on vacation, that could be an issue because I've only got 12 hours or 20 hours of battery standby that I'm going to power this lock till the batteries fail. So that's the inherent problem. If we weren't restrained by the style width and what usable you have to get into, you could do lots of things, meaning you just have a battery-operated lock, so you wouldn't really have to think about it, because when the AA's go, you just change them. No big deal. But you can still get in and out.
You said something, though, that was really kind of cool. You said electronic lock in the jamb. So usually electronic locks are on the door, and they insert into the jamb. Is there a way to reverse that, where there's electronic locks and all the guts are in the jamb, and it locks into the panel?
Well, so what it was is an electromagnetic lock is what it is. They do make shear locks, the shear versions, where you would mortise it to the rabbet of the header, and then the plate would go on the top of the door. It would be thoroughly concealed. But it's still the same problem. To lock that door, you must provide power.
Okay.
If you have a power supply and add battery backup, if you're gone for 2 weeks, that door is going to be unlocked after about a day. It'll look like a Tesla with so many batteries you would need. But if that's, if you can't get to that door without going through a mechanically secured area, like a backyard gate, blah, 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 it may not be the end of the world. The issue, though, is it's not latched. Now, you're going to add a roller latch? Awesome. Or a couple of magnetic roller latches? Awesome. That'll keep the door in the closed position, but it won't prevent you from pulling it open.
Magnetic roller lock, is that magnetic roller lock, does that take more or less space inside the door?
Very little space on the door. So what it is basically two magnets, opposite poles. One gets mortised into the edge of the door or the top rail of the door, and the other part gets mortised into the jamb or the header. What's nice about those is they're silent. They're easy to install. There's no projecting hardware, and I'll email you a link to that. You don't want to use you don't want to use your grandfather's roller latch. That's for the old timers. There's something better these days, and I'll send it to you. So if it's access control, then the fundamental question of how do you get it? If it's access control, the fundamental description that we need is, what is the door normally? It is normally something. Then that's part one. Part two is, how do I get out? Part three is, how do I get in? Part four is, what happens when the power goes out? And all of that has to be filled in, meaning so that we understand how it's going to work. And then it's just, okay, here's 3 different hardware options, pick one. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
I think the least sizable battery, I have an Access, but we're probably talking 12 inches by maybe 6 inches by 4 inches. It's actually fitting inside of a wall, our Access.
Yeah.
Battery size.
Yeah, well,
then,
what's going to happen is the electric deadbolt would go, or the mag lock would go in the jam, and you'd have to run wiring behind the jam to it, and that's going to lead to a power supply enclosure, like 14 by 14 by 5 inch. You'll stick that above the plenum, or stick that somewhere concealed. In the box goes the batteries. In the enclosure goes the batteries.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, and the batteries are always charging like a sump pump.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if there's power to the power supply, those batteries are on a trickle charger.
That's not bad. And that would help out. Really, any of the magnetic systems, could they work if it's set to lock?
Well, the problem with the magnetic stuff is they're inherently fail-safe. And that's a fancy way for saying when the power is cut, they're unlocked because it's a magnet. It's an electromagnet.
Okay.
So it's just a principle of science. There's no way to have the power cut and keep an electromag energized.
Okay, that makes sense. Are the electronic locks, any of those, homeowners are talking, so can any of those go straight to the regular smart systems? Your Alexas, Googles, things like that?
And I'm not into the access control software of the million that are out there, I'm sure, but all that stuff is a switch. So it'll open or close a circuit to anything. It doesn't matter what you're connecting to your access control. It doesn't care if it's a light bulb or a horn or a fancy electric deadbolt. It doesn't matter.
Ah, nice.
You're presenting your credential, whatever that is in your access control, opens or closes that circuit. It's a fancy way for either the power's there or it's cut. And the thing goes from the load, we call it, goes from the one state and flips to its opposite state, just like a light switch. The light's either on or off. State is on, state is off. That's all it is.
Nice. Brilliant. That's how you get paid the big bucks. So great.
Yeah, that's right. So what I'll do is I'll send you an email with some links to some stuff, and at a certain point you just got to stand there with a template and a tape measure and say, yeah, I got a chisel. I can do this.
Well, even better, I'm sure we could figure out ways to do it based off of just general specs, because outside I can get more control. Is there a product that you recommend, like a top 3 that you guys have?
It would be what we've said. I'd like to use an electric deadbolt. The problem with that is you have to decide what happens in a power outage, because an electromagnetic lock, when the power is cut, you're done. The door is not secure anymore, and that's a problem when you're in Grand Cayman. So I'd like an electric deadbolt, and I would mortise that to the jam, and it's concealed. When the door is closed, you can't see it at all. It's really cool. And you can have those where they make 2 models, either always locked without power or always unlocked without power. You got to pick which is the natural, normal state of the opening.
Okay. I would assume that always locked is going to be the safest.
I would make it fail secure, which means there's no power and that thing is locked. And to unlock it, your access control is going to close the circuit, send low voltage to the lock, and now it's unlocked until the door recloses, because there's a switch that tells the lock, hey, you can throw the bolt now because the door's in the closed position. And that's how it knows to relock. As soon as you push the door closed.
Got it. No, that's beautiful. And
the
other thing, good.
No, I was going to say it is because, other people have used these and they're simple. Just set it and forget it.
No, that's really good. The other concern, it's the thing I liked about your mechanical latch. If I'm going away to the magnet, whatever you say, I'm going to go with. But I like the fact that you can kind of close the door and it catch by itself.
Well, I think you should toss 1 or 2. These are not those things are not expensive. I think you should toss 2 of them there, just so that you have a situation where, when the door is in the closed position, it's a healthier installation. And what I mean by that is, Have you ever walked up to a door and turned the lever or the knob, and you're like, oh, I can feel the latch bolt really dragging against the strike plate, or something
Yes.
is too... Okay, so when you've got the door in the closed position, and you've got the magnet mortised in the door in the frame, and the door's closed, and then you mortise the electric deadbolt on that same center line, and the round bolt goes into the round hole of the strike, there's never any binding because the magnet's just keeping it nice and tucked where you want it. There's any air pressure, any small amount of force from compressed weather stripping, it'll keep the door where you want it to be, and then that bolt should go in and out really easily from the electric deadbolt because it needs to. It has to operate freely.
No, that's perfect. And you're right, because even the one we have, our door stripping is weather stripping keeps it a little hard.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I mean, you want that. You want compression, but you still want your lock to be able to operate.
Well, it doesn't close.
There you go.
Yeah. So no, I support that. Okay, last question. Is there a way to get the lock that you're recommending? Do you need them to have battery operated systems that come with them, or is it something I have to build independently?
No, you're gonna have a power supply. Inside that power supply are going to be the batteries. So, but it's not going to matter because we've talked about the normal state of the door is that the door is closed and bolted. It'll be fail secure, meaning there is no power and it's locked, and it requires power to unlock it. And the upside of that is it's always locked. The downside, if there's a power outage, guess what? You can't use that door. You got to use a different door.
Okay. So even with your battery backup, there's still no.
If you added battery backup to it, it would be how are you going to be holding? You could in your access control probably set it to hold that circuit closed for an hour. Or tell it to keep that thing unlocked for minutes or hours. In that event, if the power were to be cut, then the batteries would come into play. But in a fail secure situation, I don't see how you would need battery backup because there's no power and you're locked. You're locked in the absence of power. You would only want a battery backup if you're doing fail safe, which requires power to lock it.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
I mean, electrified hardware does not come without its inconveniences, and what we've kind of talked about is if the power goes out, don't try to go out that door without kicking the door in because it's locked.
And no way around it?
Battery, a backup generator on the property.
Oh, there we go.
A Generac, those things work great.
Yeah, we're actually talking about that. That's a great move.
Oh, I had one. Power went out at my house in Chicago one time for 90 hours. Man, Generac was there the next week. Never happened again. Never. I'm never doing that again.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What'd you pay for it?
Oh, you're probably talking $5,000. Something. Maybe it was 6 or 7. I don't recall. Worth every penny, in my opinion. But all up in Illinois, there's natural gas in the ground, so that was easy to run it off of natural gas. I'm not sure about where you are. Here in Florida, where I am now, Florida, natural gas is not everywhere here at all.
Oh, that's safe for you guys, yeah. Abbott Storm vibes, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
No, I think it's a great solution. I might look for a smaller. If we're just talking about getting out, if I can give them some emergency, just some peace of mind. Which there's so many doors in this house, I doubt that I've run into that issue. But some kind of smaller backup version of that, I think it could work.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, unless it's.
Or you just go the opposite way. Go with a fail-safe lock and then add batteries in the system. You could add so many batteries that your amp hour would be a weekend. You keep adding more batteries in parallel. It's just so when you just to put this into something that I can even understand, when I slide the cover off my remote for my TV, I got 2 AA batteries in there. And those things are touching end to end. That's in series. So each AA battery is 1.3 volts. So when you have batteries in series, the voltage is additive. That means my remote isn't a 1.5 volt remote, it's a 3 volt remote.
Okay.
That's why there's 2 damn batteries in there. Now, if my remote was 6 volts, I'd have to have 4 batteries in there. When you take batteries and you add them in parallel, you now don't add, the voltage isn't additive, the amp hours are additive. Have you ever heard of a truck that had 2 like a work truck that had 2 batteries installed?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, so up in Alaska, cold climates, 2 batteries. Hell yeah, I want that. Because do you know what the voltage is in cars? If you don't, it's okay. It's just 12 volt. It's 12 volt DC.
Right.
But when you add an extra battery, you're not running a 24 volt car. It's because they put those batteries in parallel. You double the amount of cranking you get. And it's the same. So you don't double your voltage, but if you wired them in series like a remote on the TV, then that's no bueno because you're doubling your voltage. So,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's the same stuff. So the bottom line is, if you want to have like 6 amp hours of backup, fine. Double your amount of batteries in parallel, wiring them in parallel, you just doubled your theoretical amp hours. You want to have 84 hours, keep adding batteries. Make it look like a Tesla. Just keep adding batteries.
Oh, that's genius.
I've seen like 12 batteries in a system where you've got literally 3 days of standby. Literally. You could do that. You could do that.
That's brilliant.
It's not. It's just that's just
fun.
Yeah. It's just fun. Guys like me and you, we're great on first dates because we'll talk about series versus parallel battery wiring.
Exactly. Exactly. No, dude, that's brilliant stuff. When you see it in motion and put into place, it is absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Right now, the client has no idea how something like this could work. No, I'm so glad we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
Great
well,
stuff.
I mean, they don't want to know how it works. That's why they've hired someone. I mean, literally, I don't want to know how things work. I don't even drive myself to and from work. I take Uber or Lyft because I have things that I have to do. It's sending someone a quote for hardware to solve their client's problem.
Smart. Yeah, that time is valuable. You're right.
It is.
No, what's your commute?
So how about if I send you an email with kind of what we've talked about and kick it around, and we'll go from there.
That will be great.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Architectural Builders Supply hopes you have enjoyed this program. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Okay, let's dive into everything that we just talked about. Let's unpack all of that. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Okay, so let's first take a look at the images that the clients provided us. Unfortunately, they're not even remotely awesome. It's hard to know what's going on here. So, apparently there's some major constraint happening on the inside of the way that this door was constructed, is what I think the client was getting at. Full glass door may not be appropriate on a toilet. I don't know if that's the glass that is, when there's a voltage, it turns opaque. That would be neat. I don't know if that's the case. So this is the door, and they want to lock this. Well, okay, so let's talk about that. I had first mentioned
just a lock for aluminum storefront. Something like the Adams Rite 4900, because the back set, 31/32, inch and an eighth, really narrow stuff. When we look at the template, the overall depth of the body is 2 7/16 basically. Well, that does exceed what they said, that A dimension. No, I'm sorry. What are we looking at here? Oh, okay, no, we're way off. Not sure why. A dimension is 1 and 1.76. So if it's a hard 1 3/4, that could be an issue. Or he might have to, the concept is that may or may not work. So let's take a look here. It could be that a 4500 by Adams Rite would work. Adams. Just pulling up the catalog. In 30 plus years, I've forgotten more part numbers than most people have ever learned, right? I did not even mention an electric strike to the client. That could possibly work. Okay, we're doing something wrong. $45.10. Yep, like I said, forgetting part numbers. There we go. $45.10. Simple latch. What are we dealing with here? A dimension. 1 33/64, so that's going to get you there. That'll get you below 1 3/4. So this kind of lock could work. And then 3-inch thick door, whoop-de-doo, long cylinders. This is great. And actually, what's really cool about this is you could then do the electric strike with this. Really narrow, and quite frankly, this solves the problem of control. You can have a thumb turn on the inside. You can have a cylinder on the inside. So this would work. You probably have to modify the lock to go into a wood door. Well, not really. You just got to be mindful about how you're prepping it. So this would work. A 4510 lock body along with a 7100 type electric strike. Something like these. The appropriate electric strike for the jam condition. I like it. AC, DC, whatever you like. Buzzing, no buzzing is what I mean to say. We could also do if we're going to go over all of the ideas that I mentioned, in addition to this one here that I didn't mention. It's multi-lock. Multi-lock is an Israeli manufacturer of high security cylinders, amongst other things. But they have some really petite electric locks. Now, you might be able to make I'm not in this catalog often, so forgive me as I'm scrolling through. Yeah, maybe an electric cabinet lock could be made to work. You're not. If someone's going to pull the door open to break it to get in, they're going to do that. Here are some really small, what they call unistrikes. Really tiny. 12, 24 volt fail-safe is what they are. Yep, surface enclosures they can do. Something like this would be easy. Really small, petite, could work out really, really, really well. Something like this. Now, I also talked about an electric deadbolt. So, my people for that would be SDC. Let's pull up their catalog. And let's just look for electric deadbolt. Now this would normally go into the door, but the client's not going to be able to get wiring. So sometimes what I've been able to successfully do is put the electric deadbolt into the jamb. This is exactly what I was talking about to the client. This goes in the jamb. You have a power supply. You've got a switch that's telling it either locked or unlocked. These are fail safe or fail secure, so it's either like this without power or it's like this with power. You turn the power on or off in this scenario and it's the opposite state. Now this model I've used with great success because it's 2-in-1. It's an electric lock with a key cylinder override or a thumb turn override. Really great. I just don't think he's got the room to install it. Inch and 3/4. It would really be tight knowing what his door construction was to know whether or not that could be made to fit. This is kind of neat stuff. You might be able to mortise this up into the, well, obviously the header or the jamb. Drilling a round hole is easier. These are just electric bolts. They're either open or closed. This one has an auto relock. That ball switch that's there. Basically, when the door comes closed, the ball gets pushed in and completes the circuit, allowing the lock to relock. So that something like that could work. Now, electromagnetic lock. This is a micro cabinet lock. You can see from this pencil that's not a lot of electric. That's not a lot, and it's 300 pounds of holding force. I mean, I can't bench press 300 pounds. I mean, I could. You know, all kidding aside, you know, if someone's going to break in, they're going to break in, whether it's 300 pounds or 1,200 pounds of full holding force. So this concept could be mounted up at the top on the soffit of the header of the stop, and this could be on the face of the door. The client, I believe the client was asking about the same concept as a shear lock. Here it is. Same concept. Now we're going to put it up here where you're not going to see any of it. Awesome. Love that as well. The alignment is more particular with this. You've got to have good alignment. Otherwise, it's the armature. This is a spring biased armature. It's not going to grab, so to speak. So you've got to be mindful of that. And these are I'm just scrolling here. These are the classic electromagnetic door holders that you see in hospitals. And what happens is there's wires. There's a winding inside of here. And when you introduce electricity into an environment of wound wire, you're running current through it, but the byproduct of that is you generate a magnetic field is generated. And that's how these work. A magnetic field is generated, allowing them to work like that. So I think there's some good options here. I think the client has to decide how to go about getting hardware, and it's going to be a physical limitation of what to install, but it's all easy peasy. Now, I had also mentioned to the client these magnets that will keep the doors closed. That search term is precision lock. Here is one that I would recommend. Basically, it's going to look like this. You got a magnet up in the top of the door or in the jamb, and the other part in the header or on the jamb. Pardon me, either in the top rail or the stile, and then the header. And when you push the door closed, it just stays closed. Here's one magnet, and here's the underside of the other magnet. The two magnets are just presented to each other, and they hold in the closed position. It's really that simple. Here it is. So this is our more modern version of the roller latch, which would be this. Well, not this. Here's your grandfather's roller latch. The cool kids are going with this stuff nowadays. And silent. Believe it or not, I've had clients cause a very, very financially disabling problem over the noise generated from the nylon roller making contact with the lip of the strike and the noise that it created because it was so loud, even though it was hardware they specified. So this is a bit more silent, the this guy right here. I think that's it. Let's wrap up this video on, let's just wrap up this video. If you have any questions on this, please feel free to reach out. Thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.